Hello guys, welcome to part 7 of our unit on GI surgery. Before I move on with this lecture, I'd like to add a disclaimer that I do not own any of the pictures or illustrations I've used in this video. Now we're going to be talking about diffuse esophageal spasm. In order to understand this condition, we'd have to review a bit of physiology. We know that whenever we eat food, it passes through our esophagus into our stomach with the help of certain contractive movements known as peristalsis. Now these contractive movements are actually progressing the food downwards towards the stomach. So we can say that it is a contraction with progression. And since it's occurring for the initial food bolus that we ate, we call it a primary contraction. We have a similar contraction which occurs for the bits and pieces of the initial food bolus that is left out in the esophagus here and there. And that contraction we call secondary contraction. But sometimes what happens is there is development of contractions which does not have progression. So such a contraction, we call it as tertiary contraction. And these usually result in spasms. So based on this concept, a diffuse esophageal spasm is defined as a hypermotility disorder of the esophagus where the hypermotility is due to a tertiary contraction. Pathology is pretty straightforward. Due to a tertiary contraction, you develop spasms. And since this occurs diffusely throughout the esophagus, we call this a diffuse esophageal spasm. Clinical features. Due to the spasm, an obvious thing that comes to mind is dysphagia. Additionally, this spasm also results in ischemia of the local vessels, which can result in chest pain. And obviously, since dysphagia is there, we may also see weight loss in the patient. Investigations. We can get a differential for the condition with the help of a barium swallow. And in the barium swallow, we can see a corkscrew appearance as depicted in the X-ray right here. In a manometry, we can see erratic contractions in random places, as shown here. If I drew that out, it would look something like this. Management, we try to relax the muscles so that the spasm is kind of released, and that can relieve the patient. So basically we use smooth muscle relaxants such as calcium channel blockers and nitrates. Only if this doesn't work, we opt for a esophagomyotomy. That's all for this condition. Stay tuned for the next topic. The next topic we're going to be talking about is a nutcracker's esophagus. A nutcracker's esophagus is pretty much same as a diffuse esophageal spasm. Only thing is that it is very painful. Clinical features. It's again the same as a diffuse esophageal spasm. So even the clinical features are the same. That is dysphagia and chest pain. Investigation is also the same. We have to go for a manometry. Another point to remember is that for both diffuse esophageal spasm and nutcracker's esophagus, it becomes necessary to initially rule out an MI with the help of an ECG and investigating for biomarkers such as troponin, and only then think of a GI cause for the chest pain. Management of nutcracker's esophagus is also same as a diffuse esophageal spasm, where we first aim towards relaxing the muscles with the help of calcium channel blockers and nitrates. And if they don't work, we opt for an esophagomyotomy. And that concludes this lecture. Thank you for watching.